Welcome. We are back with one of our favorite special guests that we've had in the past who was so entertaining, he wanted to come back on and we wanted to have him back on. So, AmeriCanaries Podcast number 19 is featuring Stuart Hodge, otherwise known as Hodgey the Hack, our friend from Scotland. Friend from Scotland. I'm not wearing a kilt in your honor, though.
No, that's fair enough. That Scottish accent needs a wee bit of work in, but I think together over, if we get a few more of these, we'll get it to the right place.
Yeah, I have to watch more Outlander episodes to get it, with it.
I'm going to suss a Maryland accent right in return, and then we can manage to spar that way. That sounds like a good idea.
I can go get one of mine. I got 3.
One of your what, Mark?
Kilts.
Accents. Oh. Kilts. I thought you could have like put on a Texas accent, do a bit of Kansas, and I don't know somewhere.
Oh, I can do a variety of accents. And joining us is AmeriCanaries founder Mark Foster, resplendent in his lime green third keeper's kit.
Yeah, my wife says that whenever we go out somewhere, I need to start wearing this. So I'll be easy to find in case I get lost. She saw me in this and was like, "Oh my god."
And joining us is Jeff Ewick, co-founder, sticker guru, and wearing a shirt that says "That Peter Crouch Podcast."
Oh, interesting. He's quite likable, actually. I don't really like England internationals as a rule, obviously being Scottish. But yeah, Peter Crouch is quite a cool guy, and I've found him to be. You get these ex-footballers that immediately retire and then take themselves very, very seriously. He is the opposite. He's going the total other way, and that's what I like about him.
Yeah, I answered one of they said, does anybody want to be, we ought to get some ambassadors to pass the pod. So I just, sent in an email and said, okay, yeah, why not? And they sent me all this stuff. So
awesome.
I was like, yeah, cool. So I've got, little posters, all the places I hang out, the beer places and all that.
I'm doing podcasting wrong, like in terms of my own channels, because one, I've not put a Hodge on Nodge episode out in like a month, but that's just because I've got another job that's taking up my time. But I meant to say, Jeff, thank you very much for the sticker. Once I get this, I've just moved house not that long ago.
Yeah.
Once I get this room the way I want it, rather than just looking like a nice jail cell, but still a jail cell. Then I think we'll get that will definitely feature somewhere in the array of stuff.
Nice.
Gotcha.
So, excellent.
Gotcha. And then you can be judged. Another big thing during the pandemic was when people come on TV, there was like a Twitter feed judging the backgrounds of the setup. Ooh, I give it an 8.0. Nice, people would specifically set up their background for on TV, I don't particularly care. I have other stuff. I can move things around, in my office. I have a variety of other sports things here, but people would specifically set up where they're going to be to have things, especially people in sports or media. You see, oh, look, the Emmys behind them. Oh, a helmet for a team. They would things set up and to get proper balancing. And things.
No. There's an art to that. There's a total art to that. And me, especially with various kind of branded podcasts, like I was doing, the fact that I was filming it just with one dodgy lampshade in the background was pretty amateur, given the rest of the effort that I put into it. However, I've now gone from amateur lampshade in the background to just jail cell and complete bareness in the background, whereas you guys, every one of you has some color. Some of you have a different camera angle. There's at least something discernibly charismatic, whereas anyone that could see me is me, and it's just various shades of white behind me, almost ethereal. It's almost like sort of I'm coming down from a higher plane, which I can assure you, as soon as I start my diatribe about Norwich City, will be proved untrue.
Well, I can tell you the times I've been on the fan zone, it's always interesting what backgrounds people have or where they are. It's just lunacy, what people have. Taking a picture of yourself. There you go.
I'm taking a wee selfie of the setup because actually this is the first time I've had both of my computers, my printer, and all that
there you
stuff
go.
in my new house, and then some very secret quotes in it from a high caliber sportsman about one of the best sportsmen of all time. So I better watch that the Zoom function doesn't give anything away.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right. So what I wanted to get back on the list, but considering something pretty big happened Friday in, people pulling balls out of stuff and, putting groups. What's your impression? What was it? Group B?
Right.
Group B. Group B. We have USA, England, Iran, and then one of three very interesting possibilities.
Every one of those possibilities. I mean, the whole group, from a diplomatic standpoint, globally, is interesting. Let alone any of the football stuff.
Right.
So right. What do I think of it? Right. So Ukraine, first off, goes without saying. Hearts go out to people over there. It's absolutely horrible. If there was a way to give them an honorary place at the World Cup, then I would endorse that. But if that honorary place is at the expense of Scotland, no thank you. We've not been there since 1998. We're fighting a quarter of a century of drought here. So, I obviously really want to see Scotland get there. If not, you've then got the fascinating prospect. If Ukraine can't play, which, I mean, if there's a way for them to play their fixture, that would be amazing. That should be what happens, and every effort should be made to try and accommodate that. If that can't happen and it becomes Scotland versus Wales for it, then it's really intriguing because once again, you have two teams from the United Kingdom in the same group, which has happened with England quite a lot. England and the US have history. Robert Greene, infamous moment, one that's hands in the heads for a lot of Norwich City fans when they watched that. This was one Norwich City fan that did not watch that with a great deal of not anything other than glee, seeing England concede like that. So the good thing is, lads, you're going to have another supporter for the USA when you play England, unless it's at the expense of knocking us out the group if we get there. But if we get there, we're just there to have a time. No Scotland, no party.
Typically true.
Yeah. I saw that because I was what was I doing?
What's that?
I was trying. Oh, I had.
Ken's having a senior moment.
No, I had stuff that I needed to do, and it says, okay, they're doing the draw. I'm like, all right, if they're not doing this in 5 minutes, then it became the Cutter promo video. I'm like, I'm out of here. Let me know. It
took forever.
Me watching it has no effect on what happens. So
that's only true if you don't believe in certain realms of quantum physics that say if you go to the toilet, then that's when your team scored. You should go to the toilet 5 times a game, kind of thing. So, I'm actually very superstitious about things like that. It has been known for me to hang in doorways, should I go back in? Should I go back in? Just depending on the denouement of whatever sporting event we're watching.
One thing I don't do is if my team, whatever team I'm watching, if they're playing on TV, I'm not wearing their gear. Okay, if I'm there in person, I am. I do not wear anything associated with whatever that is if they're on TV. I feel it's bad luck. So I was specifically.
So there you go. That's a superstition.
Right, superstition. And the other thing you mentioned, bathroom. When I was younger, when we'd order food, let me wash my hands. Inevitably, wash my hands, come back, there's the food. It was just it was amazing. Oh, food's here, great. My hands are clean. It happens so frequently. When I was
nicely done.
A small child. Yeah, so the cup draw is very interesting. I saw a lot of Twitter talk where it's oh, watch, Josh Sargent's going to score and the USA is going to beat England. I was okay.
See, in fairness, he would if you were to draw up Josh Sargent, if you were to draw up Josh Sargent, easy for me to say, then say, is he American or is he Scottish? Like, and you'd never seen him, you knew nothing about him, and you had the choice of one or other of those categories. I reckon more than 50% would probably plump Scottish based
on
the ginger hair.
Yeah,
and like, the fact it's a bit frizzy, and I don't know, like, just that kind of, he looks a bit more like a sort of kind of wild man a wee bit, because it's like so messy and whatever. So if Josh Sargent could do the business against England, then that would be quite lovely. Then Grant Hanley, then Kenny McLean, then Billy Gilmour. Although he'll probably have left Norwich by that point, but that would be brilliant.
Good riddance.
God. No. I should say Billy Gilmour's from 3 miles down the road from me, and he is the pride of this part of the world. Like in Ayrshire, football-wise, he is the prodigy that we have produced. And then Steve Clark, the coach, is from Ardrossan, which is like another mile sort of away. And yeah, like, I mean, it's really cool for me to have our best young prospect as a country and the manager of the country during the most successful period, probably in my lifetime, actually, at this point. They're both from like really close to me, and that's pretty cool, man. Sorry, I don't know. That was a random tangent.
No, it's okay.
From the general kind of thing. But if you talk about Scotland, all that's going to happen is I'm going to get out a big partisan drum and keep beating it.
Hold on. I need to look up the name of somebody. I'm friends with this guy's brother, and he played. I got to. Let's see.
While you do that, I want to know what Mark and Jeff think of the draw. Any thoughts?
There is no real group of death, but I think Group B, if you go off the ELO ratings, I think Group B is actually the strongest, is what I remember seeing. But it doesn't seem that bad. Get a win and a draw, and America moves on, and, assuming that, we're not killed in goal differential or something. And I think we can do it. Our squad is insanely young.
Very.
I believe we are 2 years younger on average right now, based on average ages in the qualifying games.
I think I heard that.
I think we're 2 years younger than Ecuador. I think is where we're at. We're insanely young, which tells you what we're really prepping for.
Right.
We're prepping for the next one down the road when we're at home mostly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
that was said during the broadcast. I don't know if it was Clint Dempsey who brought that up, Maurice Edu, or
he was a lovely player, Clint Dempsey,
or Kate Abdo, who does that stuff.
She's a fantastic host, by the way.
Oh yeah, she is. I'm amazed that she knows she can do like on-spot interpreting in a variety of languages, which is
amazing. I mean, I'm quite fortunate enough to be multilingual myself, and it is like I've noticed it's a differentiator career-wise. Like when you can do that, it's also a buzz. See, just being able to speak another language, it's cool. When Celtic played Real Betis in the Europa League this season, the coolest part of the night for me, the game was great. Celtic sort of held on for a win, but it was like hear 'em, scare 'em, 3-2, like really exciting game of football. And like when I was sort of on the way back, it was actually walking back with the Real Betis fans and kind of being a bit of an ambassador for Glasgow, like that was my favourite bit of the night. And I think that's the part of the sporting occasion that people sometimes forget about, because like obviously the sport or the sports themselves are like paramount to the reason that you're there. But sometimes it's the intangible things that can be the most enjoyable thing about going to a sporting occasion. Like if you guys get any examples of that where it's like you go expecting to watch the game and the game in the end becomes incidental because you have an experience in a different way. Because I think that's like, I'm sure every one of you's probably got a good story of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We don't have enough time for that. So what they were saying in the studio, which is interesting, is like Gio Reyna will be the same age in 2026 that Christian Pulisic is now. That tells you, so Pulisic is like the unofficial leader of the team at 23, and Gio Reyna is 19. Richard Pepe is 19. Zach Steffen, by the way, we saw play because he's University of Maryland guy. So my son and I saw him play, and I've talked to the keeper. I've talked to the coach at Maryland, 3-time national champion, about some of the stuff that they did with Zach. Maryland went on a tour of England. I don't know if it was England, Scotland. They played games over there. So, one of the questions was, I asked him, so, okay, did you always know Zach was this good, that he had the potential to play at the top level in Europe? He says, yes, absolutely. We talked about that. And the tour that the team did in a particular year, I think before maybe his last year, I don't know if he stayed all 4 years at Maryland, was specifically to show him off. So University of Maryland came over and played, and I think they played at least one Premier League team, on a summer tour, to show him off. And now he's number 2 at Man City, the number 1. He's number 1 now. Matt Turner, who actually I think outplayed him over the summer as a goalkeeper, is injured. He was with Arsenal, then he got injured. So I think he's out for the summer. So Zach is the number 1. Although I think Matt he looked like he was a better goalkeeper than Zach, which is interesting. But, of course I prefer Zach because saw him, he went to my school.
There's an interesting thing with goalkeepers now where the ability at the feet is so prized now. So I think Zach Steffen, I've not seen much Turner, to be honest, so I couldn't really give a comprehensive judgment, but Steffen will be part of the Man City setup because he's clearly got the abilities, being not a goalkeeper that just keeps the ball out the net, but a goalkeeper that can start play from the back and come and intercept the ball high if the team's playing a high line, as Man City does, probably as much as, if not more than any team in the league or in world football. So I think that factor of his game will be spot on, and it might actually be. So it's kind of gone the other way now, because it used to be goalkeepers, maybe 5 years ago, goalkeepers that had grown up where that wasn't a prevalent factor had to learn those skills. Now it's kind of going the other way, where football playing goalkeepers actually have to enhance the goalkeeping skill because they're kind of de facto sweepers now. It's interesting the way the game's gone.
Yeah, it's interesting. So in the studio, they were talking about. So it was Clint Dempsey, Charlie Davies was there, Edu, and then someone else showed up. At the end they poured champagne. It was funny, none of them drank it. And Kate Abdo goes, "I don't drink," and people are like, "Oh, really?" She's like, "I'm not drinking. Why are you guys not drinking?" One of them, I don't know who it was, said, "I think Zach needs to go on loan to play regularly, so he's in top shape, so he's ready, so he's had the experience." Like, number 2, okay, he's going to play in the cup matches, but he's not playing week to week. So they basically says, I think he needs to go on loan to get him in
send him
shape.
to a championship club, and that will decide whether he's like.
Yeah. Well, I have no control. But that was interesting. That's a good point.
No. That's what they should do. I think the next step for him is a championship club. They've got another really good. Being Man City, they have, and this is the problem with all these super clubs now. Like, all of the top prospects don't just have the chance to grow organically at other clubs. They get hoovered up by these big teams. And Gavin Bazunu is another goalkeeper that Man City have got in their books, a young Irish guy who's absolutely brilliant, number 1 choice for the Republic of Ireland, just a generational talent again. And then in front of him, they've got Henderson, who's one of the best goalkeepers in world football. Definitely, I would say, the best goalkeeper when it comes to distributing the ball over a long distance. He pings passes like David Beckham used to, and can do it throwing the ball like Peter Schmeichel used to. So, it's interesting.
So that was an interesting point that was made, because we watched the studio. So that was just interesting. Yeah, so there's lots of interesting groupings of like, oh, these guys played each other before and these guys played each other. Someone wrote an article. I didn't even realize some of the groupings. These 3 teams played each other last World Cup. So there's lots of really interesting stories for every group. I don't think there's any group of death. I think there's 3 group of really, really hard, and you don't know. Like the last group, tell me who's getting out of that last group. They're all 4 relatively equal. I forgot who's in the last group, but I look as I don't know who's coming out of that. You know, I don't have the paper here. I didn't.
I'm just sorry. I've just opened a tab because right. I'm gonna give a full disclosure, right? See, because Scotland aren't there yet. I don't want to look at all the groups and fascinate myself with the machinations of it. For the purposes of helping out in the pod, I'll have a quick look. But until we're there, I don't care. You know, like so. 25 years of not caring, except for the teams that beat England.
Mark noticed this. USA England is going to be played on Black Friday, and the game is going to be 2:00 Eastern time. That might be the most watched international soccer match in the US in a very long time.
That's interesting because the growth of the game over there has been exponential. I think another thing is we're seeing parts of the game that have never had the sort of levels of support that maybe the men's games had or other global regions have had. We're seeing things explode. The women's Barcelona Real Madrid Champions League clash did 90,000 people in the stadium. Which, I mean, that's fantastic. How good is that for the game? It's really, really good. And obviously, like, I think it's a safe thing to say that female football probably will never quite reach the heights standard-wise that men's football has. But as support grows, as investment grows, popularity grows, it's only going to get better and better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good thing because sport is about participation at the end of the day. And seeing that happen is great.
Now, for me, thinking about it a little more, I may contradict myself here a little bit. Friday afternoon, Black Friday games, I'd be curious to see what college football and TV does on the college football games, because there are usually Friday games on Black Friday in college football. There tend to be rivalry games, derbies, essentially. Used to be Texas and Texas A&M used to be a big Friday game back in the day. They're in different conferences. They don't.
Let's not forget the Egg Bowl. All right, Hodgey. If I told you there's a rivalry called the Egg Bowl, you have any clue what part of the country that might be occurring in?
I don't. So, is it something to do with agricultural states?
In a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
That's my guess, because I don't have a clue.
Yeah. I don't even know where
if I said that Oklahoma's motto is "We're number 49, thank God for blank," what state is blank?
Think of the worst state in the U.S. The one that you go, oh my God! It's
Here
every
comes the hate mail.
Every every stereotype you can think of might be true.
Okay, different reasons for each of these guesses, right? And I'll explain the methodology. Right, and by the way, to anyone that's listening to this from those states, we're just
whip up a quick disclaimer.
Right,
I'm looking for
where to be done. Arizona.
No,
Arkansas.
Not Arizona.
Get
closer with Arkansas.
Right. Okay. Kentucky.
No, not Kentucky.
Oh, right. Louisiana.
You're getting closer.
You're like all over it, but not there.
You're getting closer.
Texas.
No,
not
Texas.
I didn't think so. I didn't think it was. Right. My methodology behind all. Oh well, Alaska. If you're just talking because it's like away from everything else.
No.
Right. Well, I've got nothing then.
Not Alaska.
But I'm guessing Mississippi. Like, and
it's like, Mississippi.
Yeah.
It's Mississippi. Mississippi ranks like in the 50 states, anywhere from 48 to 50 on any sort of measure you're looking at. any sort of like good measure you're looking at. So it's called the Egg Bowl. So it's University of Mississippi and Mississippi State.
We use Mississippi. I don't know if you do this in the US. So like, see if you're counting a second out loud.
Yeah,
and you want to get it
Mississippi,
one Mississippi, two Mississippi.
Right.
Do you do that over there? Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is Mississippi's great contribution with a river to the world.
Yeah. Almost. And Mississippi, and going back to college basketball, is connected because it's the sites. You have Minneapolis and New Orleans, both connected by the Mississippi River. Basically, the source, and then where goes into the Gulf. So there's a commercial where they're showing on like a flag. They're showing Minneapolis at the top, and then New Orleans at the bottom.
So I've just thought of something that I would be interested to talk about. Can we talk, like we talked off the air just before we started the bit about this, but can we talk a bit more about my story of who I'm thinking of supporting in college basketball and that kind of process I'm going through? He's happy to do that, or have you got something else you want to talk about?
Good.
Right. So I like the Kansas State, sorry, because I loved the Naismith rules being there. Like Naismith obviously taught there. Like Scottish, like everything else in the entire world, it was invented by a Scotsman, right? Like everything, right? I mean, if you want to
Silk,
How Scotland Saved the World. Isn't that a book?
Yeah, it's a book.
Yeah,
Right. So letter T, telephone, tarmac, tires, television. Like, there's a good joke about that. Are you familiar with the comedian Frankie Boyle? Has he reached the States? Awesome. Right,
I'm not.
Right. So, so are we? I think is this a family program? We're not allowed to.
No, it's definitely not.
It's not a family.
Frankie Boyle. The rules go out the door.
I click. It's not a program for children when I post it. So
that's fine. Okay, so for anyone that's listening, that's got kids around, this klaxon, right? There's about to be some industrial language, right? So Frankie Boyle said this skit where he had to talk about like the grumpiness of Scottish people, and then he was like that. Well, you just take John Logie Baird for example. People are around him lauding him for his achievement. Like, John, that's brilliant. You've invented the telly. And he goes, aye, but there's fuck all on. And that is the quintessence of what Scottish people are.
Dead on.
His accent's very good.
So,
sorry, on you go.
I was going to say, so picking a college team.
You're thinking of Kansas.
You're thinking of Kansas. Now, as someone who grew up about 30 minutes from campus there, my first question for you is, do you know how to clap?
I think so.
And do you know what I'm talking about with that?
Is that the thing?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I've not got it down, but like I listened to what was the Queen song? "We Will Rock You" when I was young. So
Right.
So
there are YouTube tutorials for you.
Okay.
If you choose to go down that road. Now, I went to.
Are you down that road? Is that who you follow college-wise?
No, I went to the University of Oklahoma. That's what I'm saying. I went to a rival school in a lot of different ways in a very heated time.
That's tasty, man.
Only on the basketball side. Now, there's not really a rivalry on the football side because Kansas is
bad.
Oh my God! It used to be Kansas State was like one of the worst teams all time in the country, and then when Bill Snyder came along in the early '90s, I think he started in '89. But anyway, he brought that team out of the depths, and then Kansas went. But Kansas, other than having some great NFL guys over the years, has never really done a whole lot. And Gale Sayers, John Riggins, John Haddle, and it kind of goes downhill from there. But I have a lot of respect. All my classmates growing up went to KU. I've been on that campus so many times growing up because we'd had field trips and things like that. Beautiful campus. Got a lot of respect for them. Been to football games. Never made it to the Fog. But Fog tickets are harder to get into. By a long way. Than a 50,000 seat stadium that has maybe 15,000 people in it, and even then you don't have to watch the games from inside the stadium because there's a big hill on the south side. You can just watch everything from the south end zone.
Always approve of that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful, beautiful campus. But yeah, that clap, if you can get that down, They do love the game a lot, and their whole rock chalk,
that has been
Jayhawk, all that.
Yeah. The only thing is, like, in terms of the and I hate to go all postmodernist on it, right? But like the branding, I'm not so keen on that big bird. Like, it's like halfway between Sesame Street and that bird that Peter Griffin hits all the time in Family Guy.
And if you look at the evolution of the Jayhawk, I mean, the first one, I remember seeing somebody posted another one.
Can you show me see after we're done this? Can you send me like the evolution of the bunch throughout the years?
Well, the first one looks like a rock head. It's got this big long legs on it. It's like a chicken. But do you understand what a Jayhawk is? A Jayhawker?
A wee bit. But let's pretend I'm an even layer.
Okay. So Bleeding Kansas, pre-Civil War, free staters and slave staters fighting it out. Lawrence gets burned by border ruffians from Missouri. Back and forth, John Brown, all the pre-Civil War stuff over slavery. And the Jayhawkers were the Union side, the Free Soilers. So
that's interesting to know, because like in every take Duke playing North Carolina as a prime example, right? Which we don't know the result of in the UK because we had to sleep to cover the NBA this morning.
We do.
So yeah. So no spoilers, please. But that's a prime example of like a rivalry where there's very much. So if you look at the Super Classico in Argentina, right? You've got River Plate, which is the club of the bourgeois, the club of affluence, the club of money. And then you've got Boca Juniors. It's the team in the street, the team that's got that sort of bit. And I think most rivalries have that kind of dynamic where there's a team that is seen as like the kind of plucky up-and-comer and one of the common man, although I hate that phrase, right? Like there's always one team, I think, and one of these, like where it's the geographical proximity is close. Like I always think there's one team that's kind of that, and one team that's kind of, the team of the establishment, and I've always gravitated more towards the former. So also in the running for Hodgey College team, the Arizona Wildcats. For no reason other than I like a few of the players that they've had come through, and not so much now, but in the past.
Arizona's won a championship in the past.
Yep. I like, I watched the Fab Five. So, they're in the running because that was such a cool. It was a cultural movement as much as a sporting movement.
Well,
and very much of its time.
Now that Maryland's in the Big Ten, I can tell you that the mindset of many people from Michigan is very similar to the mindset of many people from Duke. There's the vast bulk of them are.
Michigan's a more industrial place, right?
No, but there's an arrogance. I've only met 2 people who graduated from Michigan that are just not arrogant assholes.
Yeah.
Everybody who graduated from Duke is an arrogant asshole. I've only met 2 people who are nice from Michigan. Everyone else is arrogant, elitist jerks.
How big sample size are we talking, Ken? Because I always think
pretty big size.
All right,
big size. Well, I'd say at least 50 people that I've met.
And
I know 3 people from Michigan State. They're all super nice people.
And I can validate this too because I married into a Michigan family. with members on both sides, and it's still the
Duke in North Carolina, what you mentioned, doesn't fit your construct because North Carolina is a blue blood. North Carolina, as far as the school in basketball, they're a traditional power. They're separated by 9 miles.
No, that was the thing, but I thought Duke
9 miles.
I'm thinking more of the alumni in general that go to the school, rather than necessarily their background as a kind of. I mean, is it a bit more blue collar, white collar, or what we call?
No.
North Carolina is still very, very much white collar because it is a top tier institution in the country.
It is.
Fair enough. This is where I'm learning. I don't know these things.
Okay, I mean, because my son applied to North Carolina, and he didn't get accepted, but North Carolina has something that's 82% in state, which is lunacy. 82% in state. So what that tells you is that after they've accepted everybody they think is good, they then start looking for kids from rich private schools, so they know the parents will be able to pay them money to let them in. There's lots of private schools there. So that gives you 18% not from in-state. And of that 18%, you have all the athletes who aren't from North Carolina. So to get in out of state is very hard. Duke is, much more. Duke is a wannabe Ivy school.
Yeah,
Duke is a wannabe Ivy school. I've met people from Ivy schools. They're not jerks.
What's the best Ivy League school basketball program?
Historically, it's Princeton.
Yeah.
Princeton, really? Because I've seen a few Harvard names kicking about, and I do know of various players that have knocked back Ivy League schools to go to a basketball.
Historically, program. It's Princeton. Princeton actually made the Final Four twice. Is it twice?
Yeah. What notable NBA players have they had?
Bill Bradley is their most notable.
Okay.
Bill Bradley, who was a U.S. Senator and ran for president, who's in the NBA Hall of Fame. Did he make the NBA 75 team?
I don't think he did, but that is a life.
Yeah. So Bill Bradley, right, Bill Bradley is their best player.
Penn in my head for some reason is probably topper tier among those as well. They get tournament bids.
Right. Okay, but historically it's been Princeton.
I'd say the Tigers.
I'm not saying right now, but historically, and then Yale, Harvard, and Penn do pretty well. Cornell, Dartmouth, Brown, Columbia, not so much.
I'm gonna go a different way about this, because this feels like this is what I like about these chats, and why I think we're going to do a lot of them, because it just goes in whatever direction it goes, which is the way a podcast should be. Too much structure in a podcast always kind of like it's I always think that's the button you hit if your guest is not full of rubbish like I am. But what I want you to do now, if you're up for it, right? I'm going to do my own little. Do you have Dragon's Den in the US? It's like a TV show where business people go and pitch to see if they can get money from investors.
Oh, Shark Tank.
Shark
Tank. All right, so we've got dragons and you've got sharks.
Tank. Yeah,
that's the United Kingdom's delusion of grandeur. Since
you're the NBA Sky Sports reporter, okay.
Okay, you're going to put me in the spot here. I can tell with that face.
No. He's on the Shark Tank show a lot. Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's on there.
So is he one of the guys on it?
Yes.
He's a regular.
He's a regular. Okay. I don't know if he's on. He's probably on 85%. I would tend to think that they have a group of maybe 6 or so they're all probably on like 85% of the shows. So Mark Cuban is there. And,
well, see, the thing is, like, I don't want to go down a Dallas Mavericks hole, but there's an interesting positioning from the likes of the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics, where they're very, very defense oriented at the moment, and it's going to be they do have transformative offensive players as well, and it's going to be about who they build around it. I would like to see Dallas build it around Doncic, but he strikes me as one of the hardest players to build around because it's very, very him focused. So I don't know if it's another LeBron Cavaliers situation where just give them shooters,
Yeah. Do you have any contact with people that cover the teams? Because a beat reporter for the Dallas Morning News went to school with my son at the University of Maryland.
That is a hookup. I would be very grateful if you could.
Her name is Callie Kaplan. I'll ask him.
I've seen her byline.
Yeah, she was the beat reporter. Lots of times, if you cover both basketball and football for the school paper, which is called the Diamondback, because that's the mascot, you then get pretty decent jobs. So her first job was covering, and this is a big get, covering high school football for the Dallas Morning News. So that's a pretty, coming out. And now she's the Mavericks reporter.
Well, that's it. It's a natural progression. I would love to be hooked up, mate. That would be really kind. Because at the end of the day, when you're a British guy covering the NBA, it's a bit harder to assemble a contacts book than it would be if you were in the States.
I'll work on my.
Right, next one. But your time to be a member of Shark Tank, you guys, right? So we've got Ken, Mark, and Jeff here. I want each of you guys, and we can go one of two ways about this. You can either pitch me your team or the team that you think I should support that's not your team, or you can do both. I actually think if you each did both. So we'll go like, first you can do a pitch for whatever team you support.
Well, you need to
whichever other team I should go for.
You need to tell us what you're looking for, because like when I chose
when
I chose Norwich, I'm not. Believe me, I'm not gonna say my team, because my team's Maryland's in a huge transition right now. So okay. I'm definitely not gonna.
Right. So we'll do one team each. Then it can be your team or it can be another team. So just pitch at me who you think I should like. Who you think I should like, and what would I say? I would like something that's got a bit of the kind of purist in it, but like still at the same time offbeat, and not like the Orlando Magic level of like terrible. Okay.
I'll go first because I'll be the shortest.
Right.
I don't really have a team. I don't follow basketball, so I went to Penn State University, and I've seen them play twice. I saw them play at State College against the Fab Five, Michigan.
Okay.
Right. That was an absolute drubbing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw them play in a low country preseason tournament here in South Carolina, and they lost by 30 points to the College of Charleston. So, I mean, if I had to watch basketball, I'd just watch Penn State because I would hopefully be there. But I'm not a habitual or ever watcher. I'm not a fan of it.
Fair enough, right? But that's one vote for Penn State, mate.
Penn State is known as a football school with a little bit of wrestling thrown in.
Okay. Do you know what?
They are far more competitive in basketball than they ever have been. They actually are. They don't suck. They actually are competitive. They used to suck. They're competitive now. Yeah. So whoever their basketball coach is has done a decent job of building the program, but.
One of the great joys for me about coming on this podcast is like there's certain tons of phrase that we don't use in the UK. I would never say something sucks, but like to see, because like when I say it, it sounds like, I don't know, a bit seedier. Like, but you're just saying they suck, and I'm like, yeah, man, I like that turn of phrase. They suck, right? So we've got Penn State. Are you going next, Ken?
Well, I'm not going to say Maryland because they just. A transition. If you want to get your heart broken, even though they did win the national championship, I have the banner over there. God for a basketball
what year?
team. 2002.
Okay, right. So yeah, I'm happy not to go with them.
They just had the celebration of the 20-year celebration. They had it at one of the games, and we just hired a new coach, and it's a lot of transition going on. I'm certainly not going to say another a Big Ten school.
Okay.
God. Let's go with the historic blue blood that I think is fun to watch and plays interesting basketball. UCLA. The historic blue blood, the John Wooden school, which has gone through a lot of stuff. I love the colors of UCLA. It's a West Coast team. They play a different type.
Is that the O.J. Simpson school?
No, that is USC.
That's USC.
Right, UCLA, sorry. University of California, Los Angeles is a public school. And
right.
USC,
I like that.
Right. USC is University of Southern California is a private school.
University of Spoiled Children.
Yeah, very close to the LA Coliseum. They're basically within the same, a couple miles away from each other. So yeah, but UCLA is So that I actually have a friend whose daughter is there now. UCLA is in the U.S. gets the most applications for admission of any school and has for a long time.
I seem to remember them having some good players that got to the NBA.
They have quite a few. I mean, come on. I mean, they won, what was it, 10 championships in a row? They had Kareem played there, Bill Walton played there. But they've gone through a lot of transitions since John Wooden. They actually won a championship a while ago.
Oh, they've got some of my current favorites because obviously being a more recent convert to basketball, I would be lying if I said that I had proper fandom of the likes of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or whatever, or Bill Walton, because it's more to do with.
No,
for
you
me,
gotta.
I'm
Do you have
aware of the
HBO?
history.
Yeah. Do you have HBO?
No, we don't have that over here.
Okay, because HBO is doing a series. Actually, going to do one tonight. Showtime: The History of the Lakers. The
Winning
the,
Time is what it's
Oh,
called.
right. Okay.
They couldn't call it Showtime.
We do have that actually on Sky, but
okay, there you go.
the thing is, like, without sort of giving too many spoilers, they break the fourth wall really early and repetitively, and it annoys me, and so I turned it off. Like, is it worth going back to? Because like 10-15 minutes of that just like got on my wick.
Do not take it as canon.
Yeah,
would be my big thing.
It's funny. It's funny.
Okay.
Although I do know Kareem put out a pretty interesting statement with the crap that happened at the Oscars, and Kareem, I think he's one of those people that's like, hey, if you could sit down and have a meal or talk to somebody, he's always in my group of people that I'd want to have talk to, because he's so intellectual. He's so interesting. The amount of interest that he has, I just find him a fascinating person. So he wrote an interesting diatribe on what happened and why it's bad. So he is portrayed, and he's in the show, and it has Magic. The last one has Magic Johnson, because he's the rookie, assigned to bring him orange juice at 6:00 in the morning. That's not. And Kareem doesn't like any of the orange juice he brings. So I'm inclined. Yeah, he calls the LA Times not a real paper, which I find hysterical. Which is, but I'm actually inclined on Twitter to go, Kareem, do you like your orange juice? Because he's portrayed as not liking anything. Like, how do you like your orange juice?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
in terms of more recent, I've just done a quick Google UCLA players. Kevin Love's a player I love. Like, no pun or correlation intended. And Zach LaVine, I think, is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm glad he steered clear, because it looked like he could be one of those players that was really injury prone.
Do you know Kevin Love's entertainment connection?
Rings a tenuous bell, but on you go.
His uncle or his dad was in the Beach Boys.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Mike Love and Kevin Love are directly related. Yeah.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
No, Beach Boys are a brilliant band. One of my favourite memories of my childhood was we lived in Spain for a couple of years, and we drove there in a van, me and my family. And I remember driving down Costa Brava, just past Barcelona in Spain. It's like these clear blue water with the sandy cliffs and all that. And I got like to go in the front of the van, which was like that was big, you know what I mean? Because it was not my mum and dad. But I got to go in the front of the van as co-pilot, and we had the Beach Boys 20 Golden Grapes playing, and the sun was just searing like into the van. And it's just like, how you get those memories from your childhood that are just entrenched. And that's one of mine, because everybody can surf, and like you've got people actually windsurfing in the water. Just perfect, man. Really, really nice. So Beach Boys will always hold a place.
It's his uncle. It's his uncle.
It's his uncle. Right, that's fine. So I have two of my votes noted down. It's all over to you, Lone Star Canary.
All right, so I will go ahead and give a brief pitch for Oklahoma. Currently got 3 very solid NBA players right now in Blake Griffin, Buddy Hield, and Trae Young.
Well, Trey's no bad, aye.
Yeah,
and Blake Griffin was decent till his knees.
Shot.
Yeah,
Trae Young is honored to play in the same court with Kevin Huerter.
Kevin Huerter, by the way, is an undervalued piece for the Hawks. Like, Huerter's a very, very good floor spacer, and he's one of those, three, and like the D's not maybe full 3 and D, but like 3 and D guys aren't getting the same respect that they did years ago. Also, that's why it's really interesting with like Danny Green this year. Do you know what I mean? Because he could get a 4th ring with a 4th different team. That would be an incredible achievement, So I'm all for a bit of the kind of 3 and D guy coming back. But Huerter's like, I really like him as a player. I think he's an important piece. I think he's a good complementary piece if the Hawks can push to the next level. But it's what they're doing in the front court, I think, that's holding them back.
No, as a Maryland, Mark, I saw him play obviously numerous times because he was there. My son was there. The fact that Carter said, "All right, I'm going to declare for the draft, but I'm not necessarily, going to pull out. I might come back." When they said, "You could be your first round draft pick," it's like, okay. And then he was picked. Everyone's stunned that he was able to do that because they thought it was a year early. But he's on my fantasy team. I'm in the finals. I'm winning 7-2 going into today's the last.
Good luck, my man.
My team is called Big Nick Energy because I have you like it? Big Nick Energy.
No, I don't mind it. Yeah. Right, yeah, sorry. Back to your pitch.
Finishing my pitch. Finishing my pitch. Okay, so Alvin Adams, Mookie Blaylock, Wayman Tisdale, rest in peace. Clifford Ray, Harvey Grant. You want to speak Spanish to a former player, Eddie Nahara. Okay, greatest Mexican player ever in the NBA. Short list, but still very solid guy. Went to OU. Anthony Bowie, Stacey King, Brent Price. Kelvin Sampson was a coach at OU. Somewhat discredited, disgraced due to NCAA stuff, but everything he got busted for.
Was it money stuff?
No, it was contact stuff. It's stuff that's it's not against the rules now. The NCAA was behind in their rulemaking in the age of cell phones.
Yeah. And by the way, there's an element of that. I'm not saying that there's nothing nefarious going on. Obviously, judicial procedures must be adhered to and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But I was quite sad to see because obviously Penny Hardaway holds a really close place in my heart. So to see everything that's going on with him at the moment is just not very nice. But I think everyone knows
Memphis historically has skirted the rules.
Yeah.
Do you know who, like, by the way,
there's been some other names here?
Yeah. Jim Larrañaga, who coaches, is it like Miami State?
Miami hold on, you got to roll the R's. Larrañaga.
Larrañaga. Right. So if I was to do the Cuban. Full thing, it'd be Jim Larrañaga. You wouldn't even go Jim. It'd be Jim. And I talk about Jim
Larrañaga. Yeah, he made sure. He made sure the Enye was over his name. Larrañaga.
Yeah. Larrañaga. So you've got to roll the R as well. Like Scottish people are at a distinct.
I don't know if you have to roll the R, but you have to. Yeah, the Enye.
Oh, you do. It's a double R. A double R.
I'm not sure. I've never heard I've never heard the R's, but yeah.
Ken, as a Spanish speaker, I assure you, a double R in Spanish is.
Yeah, I know. Larrañaga.
There might as well be 6 of them. Yeah.
No, that's it. And the Scottish people.
4 años en la escuela, por español.
Oh, no,
I can't. I can't. I'm not conversational. I can do like sentences. I can't have a full conversation.
See, that's where me staying there as a wee boy was really cool because it's like I always say it's the only cool thing about me is that I speak other languages. Like anything else about me is, I mean, look at my haircut; it's reprehensible. Glasses, what I'm wearing, nothing's very cool. My jail cell is pretty unedifying. Like the whole thing's pretty uncool. But speaking Spanish, I'm all right with. Anyway, I'm
Mark's continuing his Oklahoma pitch.
Yes. Okay, so Porter Mosier, who worked the Magic at Loyola of Chicago, is now their coach. They had Kelvin Sampson. Before that, it was Billy Tubbs. You talk about Paul Westhead and his insane offenses at Loyola Marymount. Billy Tubbs' teams were insane. I watched them put 97 on the board twice in a half. Just insane offenses. Fun to watch. If you get them in basketball, you're going to love them in football. I'll say, and I'll leave it at that for OU men's basketball. My second school, my off school, I'm going to go way off. I'm not even going to go NCAA. At least they're not NCAA anymore. Oklahoma City University used to be one of these mid-majors. They played in what might have been like the Mo Valley. It was like a city league with the Bradleys and some of those schools. They were coached in the 50s, 60s, 70s and a little bit in the 80s by a man by the name of Abe Lemons. Go find his autobiography. He is a riot. They are now an NAIA powerhouse. A lot of fun to watch. Still have a lot of great history, but they were a Sweet 16 team back in the 60s when they were still NCAA. School kind of fell on hard times. But they're a fun one to watch if you like watching small school basketball.
That's interesting. I have made a note of both.
Yeah, Abe Lemons. He is a hoot. You want a character. He was one.
I quite liked a guy that I watched randomly in a game last season. Ethan Happ plays with Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's one of the funny states. I think it's the witchcraft capital of the world or something like. It's just an interesting place, Wisconsin. Like, it interests me. Minnesota as a whole and Wisconsin interest me as states. Because there's something Scotlandy. It's freezing all the time, and
I've been about.
You know what I mean?
I've been in Minnesota more.
They're more Scandinavian than.
I've been to Minnesota.
That's true.
4 times. Yeah, Minnesota is very Scandinavian.
That's true. Yeah, obviously.
You gotta say it like you're from Minnesota.
Yeah. You're good at that. Yeah. I can't even do that accent. Like,
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Go
Minnesota.
To Duluth and, hello.
Minnesota.
Sounds like Ireland somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. I can't do that.
I can do a variety of different U.S. accents. I'm not great at the English accents, although I did. So these guys know I did a class to freestyle rap and hip hop. I won't do any of it here. That's because you guys aren't paying me.
Yo.
But yeah, I can do that. I've done stuff. So there's a guy from England, and so your partner with so many different people doing a variety of things throughout the class. I was like, okay, Ed, where are you originally from? Oh, I'm from Sussex, and I said, oh, Sussex County, like Ipswich, and he's like, yeah, so he's an Ipswich fan. Then I had to reveal I was a Norwich fan. It was rather humorous. It was very funny.
No, do you know what? Like, people migrate everywhere. On that note, actually, right, I reckon I've got about another 10 minutes, 15 at a push that I can spend today. So should we talk some Norwich City, given that this is the AmeriCanaries podcast?
Sure.
Well,
I don't really want to.
That's kind of the thing. What does it say about the state of the club right now when we've spent nearly the entire time talking about American college basketball and World Cup soccer?
But this is what I want this to be. Like, I'm quite happy for my appearances on this to be a bit of a departure from your normal MO.
Well, if you guys speaking of the match, and you're Scottish, Grant Hanley was immense yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
Right, I'm gonna level with you guys. I didn't watch it because I have been covering sport all week, and I am not that enamored with watching Norwich City, so I bowed out.
Yeah, that's a common. Yeah, I watched because I said, you know what? They might actually get something out of this because Brighton's in as bad a shape, form-wise as they were. I'm like, oh God, all these people are hurt. I thought, is this going to be like another Man City thing where all of a sudden they're going to have a great performance when everyone's down? Nope.
No.
I do know. They just held on, and somehow through the miracle of physics, a goal wasn't scored, and Tim Krul with a really nice save.
I don't know what the XG would have been, but like the impression I got was that Brighton were comfortably should have won the game.
It's a hair under 3.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, you had the one that Krul saved. It was a nice save. The PK where Krul messed with Maupay's head and then he skied it over, but not that much. It was kind of close. And then there was 2 or 3 others.
Tim Krul, by the way, is like world class at penalty.
Oh yeah,
shithouser.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, who else is subbed in specifically? In a World Cup. As he was
with the Netherlands.
Yeah, specifically. Right. Yep. Specifically, they tried. Who tried that? Was it Chelsea tried it or?
Chelsea tried it when they brought Kepa on, and then he missed the pivotal penalty. Because it went right through all of the shooters. Yeah, that was in the recent League Cup final. Yeah, but
Tim Krul, when Maupay's up there, he's walking up a spot on the ball and right in his face. I have no idea what he said, and it's like, oh man, and then he just skies it. So 2 goals right there.
Well, I heard somewhere that when he was talking to Mope, he said, "Whatever you do, don't go down the middle. Just don't do it. Whatever you do, don't go down the middle." I can't remember where I heard that. I heard that this morning.
Okay,
I don't remember who said that.
I mean, it's fine. I'm sure if you could, see whatever it is. Yeah, I have no idea, but he does that all the time.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right.
I mean,
There you go.
With Krul in goal, you have the impression that he might actually save some, and he has. Other goals, like I even looked at John Ruddy. Ruddy, I thought was horrible, but he wasn't that bad statistically.
Ruddy was a decent goalie, man.
I always thought my issue with Ruddy is that he's too reactive, not proactive. He didn't seem like he had a clue what was coming. It was like, oh, instead of positioning, I think this is going to go here, so let me go here. He would just react like, I don't know where this is coming. I trust my reflexes. And that's not what I want to see of a goalkeeper. I want someone that's like, I think this is going here. I'm going to cheat this way. I'm anticipating. I don't think he anticipated very well. I think he just reacted.
I'm kind of, I'm in the hybrid school there. Like, I want a bit of anticipatory going, but I want you to be reactive enough that if you get your side wrong, you can adjust. Like,
yeah,
that's aye. So I think there's something to be said with both. But I do take your point in what you're saying, and especially in modern football, a lot of it is just anticipation and guesswork. But that's something that comes with experience with goalkeepers as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that John Ruddy's not inexperienced; he was plenty experienced when he came to Norwich. But I think Tim Krul has had a career that's consistently been at a higher level than John Ruddy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think till he joined Norwich, probably, if you're looking at it from an outsider's point of view.
Of the goals, it'd be interesting to look at video to see of the goals that were scored against Norwich, how many he really had a shot to save and didn't, and how many were just like, no one's going to save those.
I think a few of them that, but also there will be goals that he's conceded cheaply. But I think the benefits far outweigh the mistakes when it comes to Tim Krul.
I think there's maybe 3 that I saw this year that I'm like, man, none
of them as bad as the one at Arsenal, the last Premier League campaign. You remember the one where he tried to turn the guy and then just lost the ball and it was an open goal. Like when we played Arsenal, that wasn't great. But I think Tim Krul has been one of the better players this season. Grant Hanley has been one of the better players this season. It seems to be a controversial debate, although I don't think there's a debate to be had. Who is the Norwich City player of the season, in your guys' opinion? I love the clamor of enthusiasm.
Everyone thinks it's Pookie just because of what he's done. But I'm not buying into that. I honestly think it's Brandon Williams for what he's done on loan.
Okay, I can wear a bit of that.
Yeah.
Mark?
I'd probably be split between Krul and Hanley, and when you have the most goals allowed, and you're talking about a back line and a goalie being your player of the year, but it's not the first time it's happened with this club where the team's player of the year has been in that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm right there with you. Jeff, what are you going?
I'm right there with him. Between Hanley and Krul.
I'm actually with Ken. I think Brandon Williams has probably been the best, but I do get the Pookie argument, because I think if the rest of the pieces round about him had been doing better, then Pookie would have done better. But to starve him of service so badly in this, which will probably be his final season with Norwich City, I think. Yeah. Which I think he would have extended his contract if we stayed up.
Yeah.
I think it's best for him to move on, because
totally is. And I mean, you've got to think from his perspective, right?
Yeah.
He'll be thinking, let's play as many games in European competition as I can before my career ends. But that's what he'll be thinking of. So he'll go to a team where he's like, it's not going to be a top echelon team, but it'll be a team where he's going to get European football and be able to play in good competitions.
Yeah.
A bit like when he was at Celtic, but he was a bit part player at Celtic. But I know for a fact that he was signed partly on his goal ratio to the appearance ratio was poor at Celtic, but his goal to minute ratio was impressive. And I think that's been borne out by the great success he's had at Norwich. And he'll go down as one of the all-time great Norwich City strikers.
Well, there's been way too many times where he's got a perfect opportunity for goal, and then he doesn't. The shot isn't even on goal. It's like, oh, and here's going to be, no. There's so many of those where a better striker is going to put the ball at least on goal, and he's not. So that's frustrating when you see that. And then with Finland, poof, he puts it. I'm like, Finland, he's great. With Norwich, Norwich, like, where is this? Why is this ball not even, like when someone shoots and the ball's, okay, great, that's on goal, fine. I don't have an issue with that. If someone shoots, okay, but there's so many times like, oh God, how do you miss that?
But a lot of the art is getting in the position. That's the bit that a lot of people don't have, and that's the danger, isn't it? Like, I don't know. It's a depressing time around Norwich City at the moment.
Yeah,
and
seeing the Norwich Twitter, it's almost it's speaking with one voice whenever it happens. Be like, we had Connor Southwell. Wow, he was really just spewing like truths yesterday on his Twitter feed. He wasn't holding anything back with what he was seeing, and and.
Connor's a good guy. I met him when he was just 17.
Wee Connor.
Wee Connor, who's a lot taller than me, right?
He looks like he's maybe 5'8".
No, Connor's like maybe 6 foot, and
really?
I'm only 5'9", man. Like I'm just a wee wide guy.
I'm 6 foot. Jeff, I get the sense you're taller than me.
Yeah, you're mute, man.
You're on mute, Jeff.
Sorry, I was talking to my son. I'm 6'1".
Okay, so you're a smidge taller than me. Okay, I just got censure. And Mark, I know, is shorter.
Yeah, my hair under 6, about 5'11", fair.
So what are you talking about? His video verdict on it? Like, because I'm just looking at Connor. Connor. So I met Connor when he was 17. He had written some stuff for one of the other websites. I think it may have been My Football Writer. Just
he mentioned that,
as you do when you're a sort of young kid. What he mentioned, meeting me or the writing?
He mentioned that My Football Writer. We had one, and that was one of the questions we asked him. Like, how did you get your start? He mentioned that.
So he did that, and I read one of his pieces on it, and it was raw. You could tell it was a kid that needed to learn a lot, but like I could tell he could analyze a game tactically really well. Mm-hmm. So I made a point. I'm always like quite big on like the next generation of anything, like I like youngsters coming to prominence in whatever field it might be. And it just so happens, obviously, I've worked in the media for over a decade now, and I identified him as like a wee talent, and just advised him to keep going, give him a few wee pointers, and it's great to see what he's going on and done, man. Like, I think Connor's a really, really talented reporter.
Now he's moved up because Dave Freezer is now going back to news.
He has, and a job opened up, but unfortunately, Stuarty boy, who may well have gone for that job, if I'm honest, has managed to land a gig where it would not be necessarily the best financial decision any longer for me to go for that job, which is a shame, because that's just like the thing, though, like, because there's been a couple of times not the right space, not the right job has emerged in the Norwich City space, but sorry about the creaky chair. If the right job does come up, then I might stop just spouting stuff on my own feeds and podcasts like this and get back working at the coalface once again. But I don't know, like that said as well, I kind of feel like my time covering the Canaries is like in a professional capacity is probably needing a kind of, I've come to the end of that cycle. Basketball seems to be where it's at now. Sorry, I've turned this into the Hodgey opus. But basketball seems to be where I'm enjoying stuff now. So that's how I've ended up there. And I've got to admit, at times like this, it's hard to cover a football club as a journalist. And I think in some ways it's harder if you're a supporter, as most of the people covering Norwich City are. I would say, I think all but one of the main reporters are Norwich City fans. That creates its own challenges, you know. It's easier sometimes to cover a club if you don't have the emotional attachment, because it means you can do your role as a reporter with impunity. And I think most people will do the job properly, but it's more taxing to do it when it's your own club. And sometimes you have to double think things, because sometimes your heart wants to go and sort of go one way when you're saying something or writing something, and then you think, no, like I need to try and reframe this in a way that I take my emotional investment out it and actually make sure the reportage is where it should be. You know?
Do you guys?
So it's a challenge.
I'm assuming you've heard the term "no cheering in the press box."
I have witnessed cheering in the press box.
I know, but it's it's supposedly like no cheering in the press box. I mean, there are. Like,
why do you think I'm a commentator, or for your American audience, an announcer? Like that. the reason I do the announcing is I get to go yes when I go.
Yeah. The announcing's different. The media, the radio and TV, it's different because people know there's homers. You know what a homer is.
When I was the Norwich City commentator, like my job was to be the homer.
Yeah, the homer, right?
Because like it was a club channel.
Right.
So I didn't need. There was no challenge in terms of making sure that there was no bias or anything like that. I could be like pro Norwich City, and that was liberating and brilliant.
I mean that's obvious when you hear, but the print media and stuff, the people who sit in the press box are different. Even though sometimes the people who are covering the team are local people and do it. Except my son's friend, who actually. He grew up in Maryland. I don't know if he's an Orioles fan, but he's now covering a team. They just had the Orioles preview. He had a really nice article on the 30 years of Camden Yards, which I have to read. And then he has another article that my son basically gave him the idea for. So he woke up, oh, is it there? It's like, oh, okay. What's the article? Oh, it's the 5 Orioles and something to prove. It's like, well, I gave him the Orioles and I gave him the idea. So my son goes right the article, which is pretty funny. But the whole no cheering in the press box.
Ghostwriting can be fun. I have found.
Yeah, it wasn't. He's a good friend of his. It's like, oh, he's going to write an article. So it's got to be this article here. So he does stuff. All right, we're approaching 11:30 here. I need to get on because I got to make sure my daughter is ready to go.
Right, okay.
When we talk about Michael Jordan, when we eventually talk about that. I can tell you about seeing him play in person in college. I can talk about being in Chicago when he announced he was coming back. That was a business trip that just happened to coincide with that.
Wow,
and what the buzz was like there and what I saw. And what I saw. And I saw him play minor league baseball in person.
Oh.
I went out of my way to do that. Well,
You're quite right.
I was in that part of the country where he happened. I was on
Birmingham.
No, it was South Carolina.
I thought he was in Birmingham.
I was on a business trip. I was going on a business trip, and I was like, oh, which minor league teams are playing in that area? And there was like 3 that were within a half an hour. And there was a publication called Baseball America. It was a USA Today thing. It was great. I don't know if it's produced anymore.
I think it's still around.
Yeah, it was great. I used to read it cover to cover really for the days. It was just full of amazing baseball coverage. And they happen to have the full minor league schedule, all the minor league teams, who they were playing. And it listed the address, phone number, internet, whatever. So I look, I'm like, oh, okay, Spartanburg Phillies, well, they're home. Another team is home. Okay, oh, Greenville Braves are home. Okay, Greenville Braves are home. Like, whoa, it says they're playing Birmingham. That's where Jordan is. I call them up. Can you verify, is this who you're playing on that day? Yes. Can I get a ticket? Yes. They were either $3 or $4. So I got the $4 ticket. and I sat behind the home dugout. And I'll tell you, yeah. So I was there. I have a Greenville when it comes on. I'll bring my Greenville Braves hat out. I have that in the other room. I got that. So I did see him play minor league ball. I have to find. There was an article that had the stats. Like I found there's an article talking about how he was doing, and there was a picture of someone was tracking how he did in the game, and my memory of how he did what he did was pretty accurate as far as like what did he do in the game other than playing a simple fly ball into a triple. I remember that. Yeah.
See, like baseball talk goes above my head after a certain point. Like I did know who Santander was, and I'm actually thinking to myself that there's an apparent business opportunity tie up there if someone told that story. You know,
no, it's not banking. It's not banking.
So, no. I know he's not banking, but they can tie up between the Orioles fan club that's developed on Twitter for Santander, and that's obviously become the Orioles feed. Like, so you could say like that story could get told, and then like there's a commercial imperative to discuss it for the bank.
It was interesting how that evolved because. And the thing was, the kids weren't even there for the full game. They left by the 7th inning. They all started peeling out because they had to get back, which is part of the problem. When you're on a trip, your time limited. So and you could see like, okay, in the left field seats, oh, look, there's Sturdy in the lime green shirt. There's Sturdy in a yellow shirt. There's, they all had shirts identifying. So you could see the groups, it was, the same thing with in Washington, D.C., when the kids show up on their spring trips, whatever it is. Oh, look, you in the pink shirt. They're all wearing the same shirt. Whatever middle school's D.C. trip name, they all wearing the same shirt. It's just ridiculous. And then of course sometimes over the summer you'll have the Boy Scout jamboree and stuff.
Good stuff. Right, listen, we're in a time limit here.
I know. I got to get going.
I'll give a quick answer. If you can do another couple of minutes, like you can each ask a question. I'll take 30 seconds to answer since I'm the guest, and you might have something you want to ask me. So I'll go quickly, and then we go. Thank you for that Jayhawk logo list, Mark. Carry on.
Yep. I've got one. I'll go really quick. Is it 2016? That's kind of where I feel like we're at right now.
Oh, right. In terms of where the club
down, up, gonna have to gut the roster, maybe have to reboot. Multiple years in the championship. That's where I feel like we are.
There are interesting parallels. I think the main difference is that the club pivoted to a whole new structure with Stuart Weber coming in and stuff like that subsequently. So now we are in phase 2 of that. One thing that we've not spoken about today is I think it's lunacy that I'm seeing all over Twitter that Dean Smith should be sacked. I mean, like, you've got to give the guy a bit of time. The guy's proven as a coach, particularly out with the Premier League, that he's good at getting teams up and playing good football and into it. And I think it's the tools at his disposal and the general sort of malaise around the club that is to blame for things rather than him. But the interesting bit about what you're asking, Mark, is the Weber factor, because there comes a point where it's Stuart Weber's not doing Stuart Weber any good, and he's not doing Norwich City any good if he doesn't get it right. I back him to find the right players to get us out of the Championship again next time. Then it's a question of whether he thinks it's even worth having a punt to stay in the Premier League, such as the chasm between the Championship and the Premier League. So a lot of it hinges on Weber, I think. But I can definitely see the parallels, but I think because the sporting structure is different, that's the bit that I would focus on. Who's next?
You go, Jeff. I'm not going to have any question.
All right. Prior to yesterday was a maximum available points of 27. How many do you think we end up with?
Out of the remaining?
Out of the remaining, yeah. So prior to the match yesterday, it was 27 maximum.
8. 2 wins, 2 draws.
I thought best case scenario was seeing what was there was 16 was going to be their ceiling of how many points.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that. I mean, I think 8 is I think 8 is about right. I think it could be 6. I think it could be something really abject as well. But I back us to get a couple of wins, and I think we'll scrape a couple of draws, but it's not going to be higher than 10. That's where I would go with that. Come on, Ken, you've got to have a question, my brother, just to finish us off.
The question. Oh God.
I like the look into the middle distance.
That's it. Yeah.
And Mark's doing a counter as well.
Mark's give me. I really don't have anything.
Dead air, man.
Yeah, you've got 24. You've got 24 seconds. Like you're in about second 15 right now.
Yeah.
16 Mississippi.
I really don't.
17 Mississippi.
Now he's got Mississippi on you.
I honestly don't have anything right now.
No, that's fine, lads. A pleasure again. I'm happy to do these like every so often, and because like we've got a pattern we go, and then we'll do a bit of Norwich, but we'll do. It's interesting for me because like I learn a lot from you guys, and obviously I'm going through a journey of discovery with other American sports that weren't necessarily in my sphere, sort of for a long time. And as a sports journalist, that's a really exciting thing because you're going into stuff that you know nothing about and learning about it,
like lacrosse. You probably don't know anything about lacrosse.
I know about Duke's lacrosse team and the scandal that's set therein, but the actual sport.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes,
that's right. I forgot about that.
Fantastic theory for that. So,
as a Maryland fan, anything bad happening to Duke, we just love.
Well, yes, but obviously criminality and sort of allegations of criminality, true or not, or whatever.
Yeah.
Never a good thing. But yes, I get that Duke being embroiled in scandal must bring some semblance of a smile to your face.
Yeah.
Lads, pleasure as ever. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Duke.
All right, thank you. All right, and this will wrap up part 2 of the Hodgey the Hack talks about whatever the hell he wants to talk about, and we love it. And thank him for it. All right, thank you very much. This will be up whenever this is up, and our next podcast is sometime in the future with a guest to be determined in the future. We don't know who we have lined up right now. All right, thanks, Stuart, and thanks,
Cheers,
Mark.
guys. Thanks everyone for listening.
That's good.